Now we're going to look at the adjusting entries related to prepaid items. And so these journal entries are going to affect both an asset account and an expense account, as we see here. So this is going to be in our profit and loss and our balance sheet, what it's going to do. So you'll see here, if we have like a prepaid insurance or rent, or in this case also an office supplies, the expense account that it relates to, as well as the asset account. So prepaid insurance is going to affect both your insurance expense account and your prepaid insurance. Prepaid rent expense, prepaid rent. And then office supplies is going to be your office expense account, or sometimes there is an office supplies account. And there's also an asset account, office supplies. So really, it's going to be, you want to record the expense in the period in which it is incurred, not necessarily when it is paid. And so if you paid in advance, then you need to remove some of that asset, or I'm sorry, some of that expense, and book it as an asset. Or sometimes if we booked the prepaid, we need to reduce the prepaid and increase the expense. That way we're recognizing the expense. And so even down here, there's this nice little chart for the account type, and then whether a debit is going to increase or decrease the account, and then the same as the credit. So an asset, remember, an asset is going to be a natural debit balance. And so if you book a debit balance to an asset account, it's going to increase that account balance. Or if you credit that account, it's going to decrease it. Liabilities and equity are both going to be the same, because remember, assets equal liabilities plus equity. And so those are both have a natural credit balance. So a debit, if you post a debit to a liability or a debit to a equity account, that's going to decrease the account balance, where a credit is going to increase it. Revenues and expenses are going to be on your profit and loss statement. Revenues or your income have a natural credit balance. So a debit posting to revenues is going to decrease the account balance, where a credit posting is going to increase it. And expenses have a natural debit balance. So if you want to increase an expense, you have to debit the account. And if you want to decrease the expense, you have to credit it. So use this chart here to kind of think about which way you need to book your entry if you want to increase or decrease the expense accounts or the asset accounts. So you can see when it comes to like this prepaid insurance, this says, for example, if we want to make an adjusting entry to increase insurance expense and decrease our prepaid insurance for $100, we need to determine which way that entry goes. So we know we're looking at prepaid insurance. So we're looking at both our prepaid insurance account and our insurance expense account. And so the account type, the insurance expense is going to be an expense. Prepaid insurance is an asset account. So if we want to increase or decrease that, we have to think, well, this says we want to increase insurance expense and decrease our prepaid insurance. So we want to increase the expense, decrease the prepaid. How do we do that? Well, we look here. This is an expense, and if we want to increase it, we have to debit. And the prepaid is an asset. If we want to decrease that, we have to credit it. And the amount was $100. So that is going to be our entry, a debit and a credit to these two accounts for $100. So in QuickBooks, let's take a look over here. And this says down here at the bottom that normally we would save it, but in this case, we're going to cancel it. We don't want to book this entry, but we just want to kind of go through the process and see how it works and what it looks like. So you would go to plus create and then journal entry. So your journal entry date is going to be the end of the accounting period, in this case, 1/31/2025. Our journal number is going to be ADJ1. So on line 1, it says select the account you want to debit. So in this case, we determined that it's going to be our insurance expense account. And it actually gives us which account it is. So it's 5012. Our insurance expense, we know it's going to be for $100. And then we would write a description to expense to expense utilize prepaid insurance. And then we would go to our next line. What account do we want to credit? We know that's going to be account 1220, which is our prepaid insurance. And so it automatically populates because it wants to balance that journal entry. And so there's $100. It carries down the description. And then memo down here, it says adjusting entry to record prepaid insurance. So we would just type that in there. That way we have additional description as to what it is we're doing. But then we're going to cancel this entry. We don't want to be posting this. So that is how you would adjust both the prepaid account and the expense account. And then down here, there's a quick check asking about which way are you going to book a depreciation expense. You're going to want to hit the accumulated depreciation, which is a contra asset account, and the depreciation expense account. So make sure you do those. You kind of think about it. That's going to be a question on Connect. So you may as well do that while you're here. But that is going to be an adjusting entry for a prepaid item.